Have you ever had a moment where you suddenly thought, why did I react like that? Or felt slightly out of sync with yourself, like something about you had changed without warning? We talk about being yourself like there's a solid thing inside you that never really changes. A core, a center, something stable that stays the same no matter what's happening around you. But science tells a very different story. What you call your sense of self isn't a single thing at all. It's something being built and rebuilt every second inside your brain. And it's being shaped by forces you don't usually notice. Neurons firing, chemicals rising and falling, memories being adjusted, order fighting against slow breakdown. What feels like you is actually a process in motion. And that's what makes it both fragile and incredible. Let's start with what we even mean when we say the self. When you say, this is who I am, you're usually talking about a mix of things. Your memories, your beliefs, your personality, your emotions, the way your body feels, the story you tell about your life. All of that comes together into one experience that feels like a single person. But here's the key point. There is no single place in your brain where that person lives. Scientists have looked for it. They've scanned brains, studied injuries, and tracked activity in detail. There's no self-center, no control room, no single switch that turns you on. Instead, different parts of the brain handle different jobs. Some areas track what's happening in your body: hunger, pain, tension, comfort. Some handle emotions like fear, joy, or calm. Some store memories. Some predict what might happen next. Some help you make decisions. When these systems work together smoothly, you feel like one person. When they don't, that feeling can weaken or change. This is why brain injuries, trauma, or certain illnesses can change someone's personality. It's not because the person disappeared, it's because the balance between systems shifted. Your brain is constantly updating its idea of who you are, every conversation, every mistake, every win, every stressful moment. All of it feeds into the model your brain keeps of me. So even when you feel stable, change is happening quietly in the background. Now let's zoom in closer. Inside your head are about 86 billion neurons. These are living cells that send signals to each other using electricity and chemicals. And each neuron can connect to thousands of others. That means your brain isn't just complex, it's packed with connections. But no single neuron holds a memory. No single cell contains a belief or a personality trait. Identity doesn't live in individual parts, it lives in patterns. When certain groups of neurons fire together again and again, their connections grow stronger. This is how habits form. This is how opinions settle in. This is how parts of your personality start to feel automatic. If you've reacted the same way to similar situations for years, that's not because that's just you. It's because your brain has built a strong pathway for that reaction. The more a pathway is used, the easier it becomes to use again. But here's the important part. Pathways can change. New experiences can weaken old ones and strengthen new ones. Learning does this. Therapy does this. Travel does this. Trauma does this. Aging does this. Even small changes in these networks slightly shift how you think, feel, and see yourself. You don't wake up as a completely different person, but you're also never exactly the same person 2 years in a row. Your identity is more like a structure than a solid object. Now add chemistry. Your brain doesn't just run on electrical signals. It also runs on chemicals that change how those signals feel. Think of these chemicals like settings behind the scenes. Dopamine affects motivation and reward. When dopamine is high, things feel interesting and worth doing. When it's low, everything feels dull. Serotonin helps balance mood. Changes in serotonin can shift how you interpret the same situation, making it feel manageable or overwhelming. Norepinephrine affects alertness and stress. It changes how focused or tense you feel. Then there are hormones. Cortisol rises when you're stressed and changes how you think and remember. Oxytocin affects trust and bonding. Other hormones influence confidence, risk-taking, and emotional tone. None of these chemicals cares about your identity. They respond to sleep, food, stress, illness, relationships, and environment. But when they change, you change. This is why being tired can make you feel like a worse version of yourself. Why stress can make you more reactive. Why grief can shift your personality for months or years. And it doesn't mean the self is fake. It means the self is biological. And biology is always moving. Now let's talk about memory, because this might be the strongest glue holding the self together. Your sense of being you depends heavily on your memories. Who you were, what happened to you, how you got here. Memory creates continuity. It lets you feel like the same person today that you were yesterday. But memory isn't a video recording. Every time you remember something, your brain rebuilds it. It pulls pieces from different places. It fills in gaps. It reshapes details based on how you feel now. Then it stores the updated version. That means your memories slowly change over time. Your past isn't fixed. It's being rewritten in small ways every time you think about it. Long-term memories exist as physical changes in your brain, stronger connections between neurons. Your experiences literally shape your biology. But when memory fades, the sense of self fades with it. This is why memory loss is so painful to witness. When memories disappear, the story of the person breaks apart. Without that story, the feeling of being the same person over time weakens. In a very real way, you are the story your brain keeps telling itself. Now there's one more force shaping all of this, and it's not psychological, it's physical. Entropy. Entropy is a word for disorder. Over time, things naturally fall apart unless energy is used to keep them organized. Your brain is fighting entropy all the time. It uses a huge amount of energy to keep signals organized, memories stored, and patterns stable. Billions of signals are coordinated every second so that thoughts make sense instead of turning into noise. This effort is what keeps the self together. As long as energy flows and structures stay healthy, the feeling of me holds steady. As entropy slowly increases with age, illness, or injury, things become harder to maintain. Memory weakens, focus slips, personality can shift. The self doesn't vanish suddenly. It slowly loosens as order becomes harder to hold. This sounds heavy, but it reveals something important. Your sense of self is not guaranteed. It's something your brain is achieving right now. Every moment of awareness depends on balance. Neurons firing in the right patterns, chemicals staying within certain ranges, memories linking past to present. If those systems drift too far, the experience of self changes. And yet, despite all this, the self feels meaningful. That's because it's emergent. Emergent means something larger appears from many smaller parts working together. Your identity is more than neurons and chemistry, but it can't exist without them. A song is more than sound waves, but it's still made of sound. A thought is more than electrical signals, but it's still built from them. Understanding this doesn't make you less real, it makes you more impressive. Your emotions matter, your story matters, your inner life matters. Not because they're separate from science, but because science, organized in the right way, can produce something as rich as experience. Being you isn't a fixed thing, it's something happening. A process shaped by biology, memory, environment, and time. Always adjusting, always updating, always just stable enough to feel familiar. And that leads to a question worth sitting with. If the person you feel like today is being rebuilt every second, who might you become if those patterns start to change? Comment your thoughts below and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there.